Hello, everyone. My name is Karen from Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen, and today I'm here with my partner, Tina.
Hello, everyone.
We're coming on a call as Tina will be reading a part of a book written by Eve Lorgen. It's called The Dark Side of Cupid. We're doing this as per request by someone who had come on to our YouTube when we had announced that we were going to have an interview with Eve Lorgen. So Tina's going to read. Do you have anything else to add to that?
Eve Lorgen, if you guys don't know already, is amazing. Totally crushing on Eve. She's she's been researching for decades now and has written both The Alien Love Bite and The Dark Side of Cupid. Um, which puts so many pieces of the puzzle together. When I read them, I was just like, yes, yes, yes. Like one of those things where you're like, finally, someone that puts together all the pieces, like all the things that we have experienced ourselves, that we see with our clients who have experienced what she calls anomalous trauma, which we'll touch on a little bit in this book. Yeah, to read it all put together in one place was just so amazing. So yeah, we're gonna have Eve on in a couple weeks to talk about some of this stuff. So I thought it would be, well, I didn't. Someone suggested it would be cool to just read a few excerpts from her book so people can be familiarized with it so you know what we're talking about. But I guarantee that most, if not all of you that watch our channel have experienced these kinds of relationships in some way or another. So as we're reading, just reflect on maybe how these energies have shown up in your own life. Um, and feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have any commentary.
No problem.
Okay. The book is called The Dark Side of Cupid, Love Affairs, the Supernatural, and Energy Vampirism by Eve Lorgen.
I love
I'm,
that already.
yeah, I'm gonna skip around a little bit, starting with chapter 1. Why I wrote this book. Okay. For 20 years, most of my cases have involved individuals experiencing a moderate degree of paranormal activity, such as a family ghost or demon that affects them, or recurrent events such as alien visitations, which is like identical to our practice. Yes, my work largely encompasses alien abductions, encounters, intrusions, whatever one chooses to call them. I believe it's worthy of study and opens a Pandora's box of questions larger than one can imagine. It was the many consultations with abductees, unusual love relationships that created my initial theory of the alien love bite. An alien love bite is a sudden infatuation or love obsession with another targeted partner that the aliens, or whoever may be behind this image, appear to orchestrate between two individuals for a particular type of love drama. I use the term drama because in most cases, the relationship carries severe emotional highs and lows. Sometimes this reaches the point of obsession, leading to emotional trauma and draining of energy for one or both partners. Needless to say, the alien love bite hypothesis is not something easily proven, but it became the name and definition of a type of experience in which its victims felt as if a powerful love match seemed to be set up elsewhere by a supernatural puppet master, pulling some very potent emotional strings.
Wow.
Yeah.
You see that everywhere,
Hmm.
even
Yeah.
our relationship.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, just reflecting on it. That's why I always say, I'm like, if this was concocted inorganically, ha,
We made it anyway.
yeah, well, we have to work through the shit.
Yeah. Hmm.
But I could see how it can cause a lot of highs and lows if you're already like a codependent, then and not able to, rectify the codependence or the stuff coming along with it. It will cause a lot of problems,
Mm-hmm.
tons of problems.
Yeah.
And people are really addicted to that, to the drama of the relationship, because it's like you know that it's going to escalate, and then after that it plummets, and then you're in bliss again,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. The ups and downs. We're addicted to the trauma. Yeah. It's the
Yeah.
trauma bond.
Yeah, trauma bond, and yeah, people love the makeup sex. No,
Yeah,
it's true.
exactly.
It's like the
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paranormal activity, emotionally draining dramas, and psychopathic behaviors observed in at least one partner exhibit as major hallmarks of a dark side of Cupid love bite. In a later chapter, this is discussed in greater detail as an unholy triad of symptomatology. At least two of the three indicators are present in all of the cases under study, most manifesting all three parameters, namely, one, magical or paranormal elements such as omens, precognition, and psychic linking.
Mm.
Two, psychic draining or vampirism and or emotional highs and lows. Three, the emotional manipulation and or psychopathology factor,
Mm.
which we see a lot of our clients coming to us with these
Mhm.
unholy triad
Yeah,
symptoms.
totally.
Yeah. The deeply connected psychic linking between the two partners often lasts much longer than the love affair itself and becomes a key feature surrounding the mystery of the dark side of Cupid. The alien love bite theory and the embarrassingly painful effects do not bode well for the popular ufological. How do you say that?
I
U
don't know. I've never heard of it.
ufological disclosure movement. Exopolitics theories and space brothers are here to save us mentality prevalent in the New Age and UFO community. No, not at all, nor has it gained acceptance within the mainstream psychology circles. This means that those who experience the trauma of alien abductions and the love bite trauma are stranded between a rock and a hard place, isolated in no man's land where secrecy remains the rule rather than the exception. If disclosure of all things UFO, extraterrestrial, and related secrets ever happens, then the alien love bite and especially the dark side of Cupid must be a part of this. In my view, it may very well be the root driving force behind the ancient extraterrestrial star gods themselves and those powerful clandestine organizations who appear to serve them.
I bet. God.
Yeah. It's true though, like when you experience something like this, there's nowhere to go.
Hmm.
There's nowhere to go. Like people are lucky if they find us to understand and validate their experience. But other than that, I can't even
It's
think of,
considered normal.
well, yeah,
It's normal, but it's not, or healthy. It's not healthy, is what we should say. It's
right,
normal, but it's not healthy.
right. When the paranormal part is involved, it isolates you from the mainstream, like
Hmm.
the awareness that's coming up about NPD and narcissists and sociopathic tendencies, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
It isolates you from that, and it isolates you from, the UFO community and the New Age because it's all love and light over there.
Yeah.
So people are stuck with like, I'm
Yeah.
experiencing all of this weird stuff and I have nobody to talk to about it.
They're in limbo.
Yeah. Okay. Some people who contact me keep this part of their lives secret for years, often a decade or more. The alien love bite experience leaves its victims feeling bewildered, emotionally drained, and betrayed, not only by their alien visitors, if they know themselves to be abductees. A lot of people don't even know they've been abducted, but by the unseen entities that magically arrange the love partnership. It is as if the aliens, or whoever these Cupid interlopers are, leave their victims feeling so profoundly affected that words can barely describe the emotional and psychic pain they must endure. Love bite experiencers are largely disbelieved, even ridiculed by mainstream media, as well as by most psychotherapists and medical professionals. Adding insult to injury, many of their peers within the truth-seeking and disclosure community often ostracize them, as ironic as that sounds.
I find
It,
that happens more often than we realize. I mean, or that people realize.
mhm, yeah. I mean, how many of our clients come to us and they're like, I can't tell anybody this. I've been holding this for years and can't talk
Right.
to anyone about it.
I feel a lot of people are like that, even regular folk. I mean, I think it
Yeah.
happens more often than we realize. Like it's a normal thing, but it's not talked about. And it's
Or they don't realize what exactly is happening, you
right.
know? So it depends on the level of awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I really think it happens a lot more often than we think.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying, like, as you're listening to this, like, think back on your own life and see maybe where these patterns were showing up.
Hmm.
It has been my observation as an experiencer of alien intrusions and as a researcher in the fields of alien abduction and anomalous trauma that ostracism and criticism are inevitable consequences of telling the truth about one's experiences. This happens in mainstream circles as well as the truth seeking community. There is peer pressure in the New Age community to perceive alien visitations in a certain way. The popular flavor of the week, channeled entities, ego swelling, starseed specialness, high drama, prophetic predictions, tends to get media attention. Left out are those individuals who refuse to cater to peer pressure to promote certain New Age agendas. This happened to one of the abductees presented in the case histories in this book, whose experience is highlighted in greater detail in the appendix. This is one example only, but many others who have come to me with their issues related to the love bite were rejected by other well-known researchers. In fact, many who formerly believed in their aliens as friends or channeled ET entities as benefactors were assailed with reprisals and spiritual warfare when these entities were seriously challenged. Often, a love bite orchestrated relationship was the result of such a challenge, where the person dared to question the almighty ET, channeled entity, and alien handler or popular viewpoints. As a counselor, I know that when we face reality shattering traumatic experiences, we often go into denial, or at least try to minimize the most painful and outlandish aspects of the experience. However, secrecy exacerbates the trauma and keeps it locked within a freeze frame compartment. It's like living in an emotional concentration camp. Oh my God, that's such a good way to
Good.
put it.
Whoa, yeah.
Emotional
Concentration.
concentration camp. Yeah. I know because I've had to live it and would not wish this pain upon my worst enemy. I admit that my motivation to research this subject originated from my own experiences while growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area and later while living in Southern California. Several family members and I had UFO sightings, as well as sporadic incidents of paranormal activity. In fact, the paranormal activity increased as I researched alien abductions and related phenomena. It was the mentorship of the late researcher and hypnotherapist Barbara Bartholic who opened my eyes to the dark underbelly of her discoveries while working with alien abductees for over 30 years. Barbara's and my own firsthand observations of the devastating and unbelievable effects of alien abduction, interference with human emotions, spirituality, and especially love obsession are enough to shock one's senses. In truth, this work has only begun. Barbara and I discussed alien abduction cases for years, but we tended to talk more about the widespread aspects of how the aliens, perhaps Cupid's interlopers, matched people together in endless dramas. For example, love obsessions that leave one person emotionally devastated and pining away in unrequited love. After counseling alien abductees and experiencers for decades, we noticed how various alien species interact and play humanity like one big Nintendo game, as Barbara put it. The issue is really much larger than the alien abductee and paranormal experiencer subpopulation. In fact, only 60% of those who reported a dark side of Cupid love relationship in this book believe themselves to be experiencers of alien visitation. See, they don't even recognize the actual intrusion as alien.
Right. How do they is it like a what's it called? Like a normal intrusion, how they do it? Like how we usually experience it? Or is it like they could be disguised as people?
Yeah. Well, it's like the aliens are behind the scenes,
Like orchestrating
orchestrating, like
a,
puppet
a shit show.
masters.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Working the two humans to create attractions between them. Yeah. The dark side of Cupid is not exclusive to alien extraterrestrial interference, but something much deeper, and yet the alien factor cannot be denied, either for those who strongly believe themselves to have had alien abductions. These paranormal experiencers become the lens through which we see something much larger going on today, and perhaps having gone on for millennia. Cupid is alive and well. Emotional drama fascinates and feeds him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to skip this
So Cupid's
chapter.
an entity?
Yeah, I'm going to skip this chapter on who is Cupid, but I'll read the first line. For most of us, Cupid is the Roman god of erotic love. He equates with the Greek god Eros. His name from the Latin word cupido translates into passion, desire, yearning, wanting, or longing. In Latin, Cupid is known as amor, which means love, infatuation, or passion. Today, Cupid usually appears as a cherubic angel fairy who spreads love and romance. The popular image depicts him as a nude young boy armed with a bow and a quiver of arrows.
My God, I must have been hit by this Cupid for my whole life.
However, in ancient times, Cupid could be fickle and even perverse. He was, in fact, a bad boy. He often appeared with two sets of arrows, one set made of gold, the other of lead.
Oh, okay.
Often the golden arrows inspired true love, and the lead arrows inspired lust or even hatred. Yes, couples could be inspired to hatred from his arrows. Even when causing unsuspecting men and women to fall madly in love, Cupid's motives were not necessarily for their benefit. Rather, he sought to drive them crazy with intense passion, to make their lives miserable and to laugh at the results.
What? What the fuck? Sounds like a nightmare. Not my kind of movie.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip the rest of that chapter, but that gives you an idea.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So, chapter 3, what is the dark side of Cupid? This chapter describes the basic characteristics of love dramas that appear magically arranged and yet leave one or both partners feeling emotionally depleted, bewildered, and questioning whether Cupid exists. When it comes to love, logic can escape us. Momentarily, at least, we fall into a magical realm full of infinite possibilities, the love bomb, where we can cast aside our logical selves and embrace the unknown mysteries of love. At last, perhaps we find the one, our soulmate, our twin flame. Each person in love may have one particular reason to believe that their new love is true love. Telltale signs appear that he or she must be the one. A powerful mystical connection seems to catalyze the love affair's unfolding. It's not simply the physical attraction, but something much more, an unseen quality or series of events that thrust the would-be lovers together as if directed by Cupid himself, or perhaps his interloper.
My face is just getting sour and sour as we keep going.
No, I'm not talking about traditional arranged marriages or incidents where a person knowingly casts a magical love spell on a desired lover. I'm talking about otherwise ordinary people from all walks of life, professions, intelligence, and cultures who experience extraordinary circumstances manifesting as matches made from heaven in which unusual aspects of a love relationship unfold. These are people who experience supernatural overtones, sometimes for the first time, within the context of a love relationship. Whether in the form of precognitive hunches, powerful dreams, deja vu, synchronicities, or a feeling that the match was a drama manipulated by an invisible force, all were left feeling confused and emotionally drained.
Hmm.
I know the way she writes it is just like,
Yeah, like I'm just like check, 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 check.
I think there's an actual checklist in here.
Oh, good. Let's see. I'd like to see.
Yeah. So yeah, like having dreams of the person, even like having astral sex and like that kind of stuff, and um feeling like you've known them forever and all that. Yeah, all that.
What does that mean?
In my caseload of anomalous love relationships, I set out to find the main factors associated with the dark side of Cupid. Over a span of 20 years, I've counseled victims of various type of trauma and abuse, those in recovery from addictions, and people involved in anomalous trauma and the paranormal. Anomalous trauma can be anything from supernatural experiences, near-death accounts, mind control, cult abuse, alien abductions, time travel, reality shifts, or even shamanic initiations. I've studied countless relationship self-help books dealing with toxic relationships, trauma and addictions, emotional vampires, dangerous men, and psychopathology. And yet none of these books ever recognize or mention anything near to what I am seeing. None address the paranormal element of orchestration and interference in conjunction with being drained emotionally in a powerfully connected love relationship that doesn't end well. While there is often a level of psychopathology present in one of the partners, such as addiction or narcissism, it does not explain other anomalous characteristics of the relationship. Psychic and emotional vampirism is a key feature, and yet the vampirism itself may be an indirect aspect of the relationship interference, as opposed to being the sole fault of one partner, aka the energy vampire. In other words, the emotionally draining effects of the relationship may be a result of one partner who acts as a portal or some sort of conduit for another entity, such as the dark Cupid.
Oh, so like an open portal.
Yeah. We see this all the time, and our clients that come to us in these relationships, their partner is being used as a portal for that entity to work through and siphon their energy.
Oh yeah, completely possessed practically. Very
Mm-hmm.
abusive.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Um, yeah, where was I? Oh, this dark Cupid's job is to hijack the energetic component of the love relationship. In other words, the emotional drama, the more energy for Cupid to feed
Oh,
upon.
that.
I believe there are a growing number of cases where something new is emerging that does not fit the standard mental health descriptions and typical psychodynamics of love relationships. The people involved in the unusual love relationships described in this book are mostly experiencers of the paranormal. They tend to be highly perceptive, sensitive people. Nevertheless, as my research and consulting continue, I also hear from clients who don't have much interest in the paranormal, nor have any evident anomalous trauma in their backgrounds. These are everyday people who seem to be hit over the head with a powerful love match that leaves them barely able to cope. It also leaves them questioning their worldview, because at some point, their long held beliefs about reality are seriously challenged.
Seriously.
Seriously. Are you on the dark side of Cupid's hit list? When it feels like a match made in heaven, the meeting could be accidental in an unusual place or situation for you, but somehow something magically happens that creates an opportunity. Perhaps you feel a premonition, energetic feelings that seem to happen out of the blue, and then your eyes meet. There is a sense, there is a sense of familiarity, as if you already know this strange new person, perhaps from another place or time. Yet you can't seem to place it. The locked
Because it didn't
gaze.
happen.
Huh?
Because it didn't happen.
The locked gaze, the sensation of butterflies swirling in your stomach, the feelings of excitement, anxiety, and perhaps even danger all lurk inside you. You can barely contain the sense that something big is happening. Maybe he or she asked you something that was on your mind just as you were going to speak it. Have we met before? You seem familiar. A few moments pass, and maybe you experience a feeling of deja vu. Perhaps you recall a recent dream when you saw the face of your could-be lover. He or she is wearing the same color that appeared in your dream, or perhaps appears in a familiar scene. You now feel that the dream was some sort of divine precognitive foreshadowing. Your dream lover has come to life.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Your senses feel heightened, more alive. Those zinging, tingly, warm, fuzzy feelings in your body seem to be resonating with this other person. Did you just meet the one? Your
Did I?
soulmate? Is this a sign that person is about to enter center stage in your life? You exchange phone numbers and email. Next time you meet, you talk about things that you thought no one would ever really share with you, much less understand. You seem to have so much in common. Perhaps the person is not normally your type, yet inexplicably you share a powerful connection. The erotic fantasies begin.
I'm listening.
Somehow they feel so much more real. Why is that? From deep inside, however, you feel a subtle hint of push-pull resistance. Your inner voice tries to check in with you, but you squash it like a bug. Your logical mind might question all this, especially if you or the other person already has a partner or spouse. It's taboo, and you don't want to flirt with the possibility of infidelity. But the lonely part of you can't stop wanting excitement, a rescue from that hopeless feeling that you'll never have true love and will always settle for less. You want to experience passion and love that you've never really known before. You fight both sides of yourself, as if you've been split into two people. Confusion sets in, and you just can't stop thinking about that person.
What is happening? Okay. Keep going.
Okay. The love connection begins and Cupid's drama unfolds. A series of magical phone calls, texting, emailing, and meetings begin. Perhaps you are compelled to drive long distances or even go across the country to meet with your newfound lover to be.
Who does that? Karen?
The energies of excitement build, and you can't stop thinking about him or her, and especially about when you can have more time together to really connect, touch, merge. You never felt such a powerful connection with someone. It's almost telepathic with supernatural overtones. You finish each other's sentences, buy similar things at the store, find yourself wearing the same colors, and even eating the same food when not in each other's presence and at the same times. That first kiss sends electrical thrills that zip right down your erogenous zones. It's almost like you've been zapped by Cupid's arrow. You kiss again, deeply. It happens so easily, so fast. Sex feels so natural and connected. You find yourself doing things you didn't do with other partners. You feel less inhibited and the creative juices flow. You take greater risks that may be out of character for you. You push away confusion and the inner red flag voice flailing to be heard because you say to yourself, yes, I'm going to follow my heart. I want passion.
I love passion.
Now the roller coaster drama begins and your life turns upside down. He or she makes you feel on top of the world, desired, cherished, and important. Events seem magically to unfold as though a divine script were being written that has pierced through the wall of your lonely heart. You are on a blissful high.
I'm dying.
Yes, yet it doesn't last. Something happens. At some point where you once felt excitement and passion, you wonder why you begin to feel weak and a little drained. Maybe your partner reveals a dark side. Emotional manipulation starts to unveil. Is your partner deliberately manipulating you like an emotional vampire? Or does it just seem like it? You don't want to believe it. The emotional crashing lows begin, and you start to feel that events are unfolding out of your control. Your partner's full attention and presence seem to be out of your reach, and your life becomes an endless chase of unconsummated love. Eventually, unrequited love pangs tear at your heart as you and your lover are buffered about in one drama after another. In time, you become an emotional wreck. Confusion sets in, and it seems as though every time you get near Cupid's lover, you become weaker. You feel sucked dry of your emotions, logic, and better sense. What happened?
Yeah, I could see how that could happen to like really super unconscious people.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Even like reflecting on like, even like friends in like college and stuff. They're like, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, crazy.
yeah. Very interesting. Okay. Chapter 4.
Oh, that was a really hot read.
Yeah. Chapter 4. The unholy triad of the dark side of Cupid and questionnaire.
Oh,
After 2 decades of researching and counseling victims of unusual love relationships, I have identified 3 main characteristics of the dark side of Cupid. When 2 of these characteristics are present, I consider that we are dealing with an arrow from the dark side of Cupid. Category number 1, the magical or supernatural element. Magical and supernatural elements happen right before or during the love affair. Synchronicities, omens, precognitive dreams, spirit visitations, insights, vivid dreams, feelings of deja vu, and other paranormal activity may occur. The love match seems to be influenced from the beyond, as if it were meant to be. Whether or not this can be proven to be true, that is how it feels to at least one of the lovers. This paranormal component is independent of psychopathology or delusion and is not part of any mental illness. It is important to emphasize that the supernatural qualities alone do not denote a dark match love relationship. Category number 2, emotional highs and lows and/or emotional training. Emotional highs and crashing lows start to transpire as the love infatuation or obsession unfolds. Emotional draining manifests and could lead to physical exhaustion and confusion. You could be perceived as being on a pedestal with ecstatic feelings and ego boosting episodes, then suddenly let down to an emotional low, either by the partner or through events out of your control. Lots of drama takes place where tension is key to throwing you off balance. A series of coincidences may occur, which creates an unending feeling of unconsummated love or a wild goose chase to get your lover's attention, but it's never enough to satisfy your yearnings. Unrequited love may set in. This basic trend can be understood as a form of emotional or psychic vampirism, depending on its severity and paranormal manifestations. Category number 3, emotional manipulation and the psychopathology element. You or your partner have unusually controlling, manipulative, abusive, or attention-getting behaviors, such as psychopathic narcissism or a Jekyll-Hyde duality. You or your partner may also exhibit a paranormal controlling influence suggestive of demonic overshadowing or possession. Perhaps one of you channels a particular spirit guide, ET, or entity that gradually takes over one's personality and then the relationship itself. This can happen in cult groups, and cult leaders particularly fit this psychopathic profile. Yeah, we see that a lot with like leaders of spiritual groups.
Yeah.
Who are being used to siphon everyone's energy.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerability factors. When questioning individuals about these situations, in addition to the unholy triad of characteristics listed above, I also look for factors that indicate heightened vulnerability, either before or during the time of the love match drama. I seek realistic patterns which may indicate vulnerability to being targeted by a psychopathological partner or by unseen paranormal influences. These patterns may include someone who is 1, financially and or economically compromised, 2, financially well off or recently came into a lot of money, 3, attracted to powerful people, such as in the entertainment industry, music, religious gurus or icons, or powerful people magnets. 4, involved in a healing profession, such as social work, counseling, nursing, psychic intuitive work, teaching, and the giving, caretaking, and nurturing professions. Empaths. It's like
Right.
the empath
Category.
vulnerability. Yeah.
Yeah.
Involved in research into the paranormal, spirituality, conspiracy, and alternative media, shy, soft-spoken, or lacking assertiveness.
Okay.
In addition to the vulnerability factors, I ask personal questions which elicit a deeper understanding of the magical and supernatural elements, as well as other factors of the triad of the dark side of Cupid. I ask questions that mainstream therapists may not consider in their clinical work, but which I find relevant as a researcher of anomalous trauma. Here I try to get a better understanding if the love match holds a greater tendency to any one of the factors, namely 1, the sense of the relationship having been magically arranged, 2, the emotionally draining, unconsummated love drama, and 3, the psychopathology element. This is the basic Dark Side of Cupid questionnaire. So, you guys can get the book to see the questionnaire. But it's basically like, does your relationship fit into those categories? The triad, magical, supernatural elements, emotional highs and lows, psychic draining,
Feel like deja vu.
unusually controlling, manipulative, abusive, attention-getting behaviors, histrionic, drama king, endless talking, chatter, attention seeker, addictive, compulsive, drugs, alcohol, sex, work, controlling, jealous, emotional, manipulator, passive aggressive, narcissistic, lack of empathy, exaggerated sense of entitlement, praise seeking, needs constant attention, and superiority complex, extreme narcissist or Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, bordering on demonic possession or hosting, supernatural qualities like black magic, hypnotic control of victim as if you are under a spell. We see that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the questions go into like, what kinds of things were happening before or after the relationship? Did it seem to be manipulated by unseen forces? How did you feel the connection? Did you feel it was more than just sexual? Did your heart, solar plexus, or any other areas feel different, which is also usually where they're draining the energy from? Um, yeah. And then it's like questions about emotional drainage. How long did it take to heal the relationship and get over it? Do you believe your partner was a psychopath? Which demon influenced or possibly a possessed? What kind of
So she deals with like couples or relationships that are not no longer together. Is that
mostly, yeah, because they've
oh
um
right, because they've been discarded or some to some degree or
well, I mean they've most I guess most of the people she deals with have been wrecked by these possessed psychopaths, you know, so they're healing from that.
Mhm.
Um yeah, I don't think it's the other way, you know, where she's seeing the psychopaths, but the people that
No,
have been like we get, you know, this like the people that have been traumatized by this.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to read one chapter, one like case study, because I think those really give you, we learn the most from stories and anecdotes, right? So
Hmm.
those give you a really good picture of how these energies work. Let me just,
Can you pause a sec?
yeah. Okay. Chapter 5. Case files from the dark side of Cupid, category 1, supernatural influence and high emotional drama. Before venturing into the stories of my clients, I want to say a little more about the hallmarks of the dark side of Cupid experience. When examined from afar, the beginnings of the love drama appear positive, perhaps within the normal range of human experience. But when delving deeper into the dynamics of the love match, I noticed that the experience held a greater degree of magical reality. Overtones of extrasensory perception and paranormal elements manifested in ways that had not normally been experienced in the lovers' lives or in those of most people. Many of the people who came to me regarding their unusual love relationship experience were perceptive, sensitive individuals. Some of them were healers, psychics, or intuitive in some capacity. Some believed they had been visited by ETs. Some came from mainstream walks of life, but who had encountered a love relationship with a powerful person like a religious cult leader or a famous successful entrepreneur. I want to make clear that this type of relationship I've identified as a dark Cupid match can happen to anyone. It can mask itself to appear that one has found their soulmate, but upon deeper inspection and with time, it reveals itself to be fool's gold. Later in this book, I will show examples of how the magical elements of a real soulmate match may be similar to a dark side of Cupid match, but how they differ in the quality of the relationship. I think that's the difference with us. Um, Good soulmate matches lack the emotional draining, dramatic highs, crashing lows, and elements of an emotional manipulation and psychopathology. The stories that follow are categorized into 4 main sections according to the severity of impact upon the partner who reported the love connection experience. The first 2 cases exhibit the consensus that the love relationship was somehow staged from supernatural sources. In addition to this basic quality, the reporting partner experienced emotional highs and lows, as well as chaotic drama indicative of some form of emotional vampirism. Okay, so we're going to look at that first case. Category 1, supernatural influence and high emotional drama. Elizabeth and James. Elizabeth, a mental health professional in her early 40s, was living in the San Fran area a few years prior to our interview. At that time, she was looking for an affordable place to live that would enable her to build her home business as an artist. When I asked her about any unusual experiences relating to the onset of her relationship with James, she answered, Before the relationship with James started, I had just moved into a house that had many electrical malfunctions. My neighbors and I saw orbs and experienced poltergeist activity, and I had occasional night terrors. We had mysterious fires in our cable boxes more than once, and the cable companies had to come and replace wires several times. That's a red flag.
She was already with him or not yet?
No.
So that's just an indication of shit happening?
Yeah.
That okay, got it.
Elizabeth met James at work, and they were scheduled to work together on several cases. Even in the first few weeks, Elizabeth started getting that feeling in her solar plexus and wasn't sure about James, but he seemed to work hard to establish a friendship with her. They worked together fairly regularly for the next 2 years and developed a mutual artist friendship. She confided in James many difficulties she was having with office politics, and he was happy to give her advice. Elizabeth shared many of her insights and feelings and came to trust James more readily. Some of the problems Elizabeth had at work involved personality clashes with another female coworker. When she confided in James, he told her, "Do you know why she hates you? Because of me. She's jealous because I like you better."
Oh God. Red flag.
Red flag. James encouraged Elizabeth to actively fight with this aggressive and childish coworker, but
Red flag.
yeah,
We should just call out the red flags while we're reading it.
yeah. But she refused to stoop to that level, preferring to take the high road and act like a professional adult. That's good.
Like an adult, period.
Yeah. Oh, I lost my place. Hold on. Okay. James was disappointed and continued to encourage her to fight with his coworker. But Elizabeth believed it was his male ego viewing the situation and didn't really take him seriously. Good for Elizabeth.
Yeah.
When I asked Elizabeth about unusual dreams, she said, James would meet me in my dreams and we would make love. This happened very often after we had met and started working together. The dream astral sex was very nice, and I felt like he was there with me all the time. I bet.
Red flag.
Yeah,
Like already invading you in your unconscious slumber.
yeah. When I brought this up with him after approaching him for a relationship, he admitted he had felt the same way. Because of these frequent astral sex dreams, Elizabeth began having more sexual feelings for James. It was at this point that she approached him for a friends with benefits relationship. At first, James was thrown for a loop. He seemed to be very concerned about whether Elizabeth was a slut and confided to Elizabeth about a painful breakup he had years ago with a girlfriend who cheated on him behind his back with several of his friends.
Red flag.
Yeah.
That's made
But
up.
finally, he was the cheater. Finally,
Mm-hmm.
after a couple of months of this, James and Elizabeth went out on their first official date. We talked and we went out to town for a bite to eat. We kissed and bam,
Her voice like
chemistry.
chemistry.
Our first kiss was very powerful, as if a palpable beam of energy shot from my third eye forehead area to his. In fact, a few times it shot back so strongly that he jumped back. I had no control over this. It happened spontaneously. We
Bet that's
went
her higher self like, get away from me, predator.
We went back to my place and kissed some more, but he refused to consummate it. He started having flashbacks of his ex-girlfriend and wanted to take things slow with me and have a real relationship. Then he told me of how a few years previously, an Indian holy man came into the shop where he used to work and gave him a prediction of how he would meet the woman of his dreams, the love of his life.
Oh God, what a manipulator. He probably went to go meet his other date.
Suddenly, I remembered having a vision of an odd-looking Indian man near a place where I used to work. He looked ancient and wore his hair in dreadlocks. I wondered if it was the same man, but I also felt a little confused and alarmed. Since it seemed they had similar visions, Elizabeth thought, maybe it's true, soulmates.
Sorry. Yeah, that's such an implant.
James assured her after the first date that they would get together soon. But weeks and a few months went by without close contact, not even for a cup of coffee. Elizabeth was
Oh,
perplexed as to why James seemed to avoid having real physical contact, and events out of their control seemed to prevent them getting together. Elizabeth explained, of course, later I realized it was him being evasive of being physically intimate, or even just real friends. At the same time, Elizabeth was still having astral sex dreams with James, but these were incongruent with his evasive behavior at work. It was as if he were experiencing an inner conflict of mixed emotions. He even threw a tantrum at work one day. James avoided her, and they did not see each other for 6 months. Then one day at work, James approached her, and they later engaged in deep kissing briefly. Everything seemed wonderful, and they planned on setting another date to see a movie. But by the next week, James reverted back to his angry, jealous self like a Jekyll Hyde switch, and when they kissed again, he
what?
exhibited aggressive and dominant sexual behavior that made Elizabeth nervous.
Hold on.
Following this incident were several more months of minimal contact.
Okay, that's like all red flags. I mean, to a clear mind, but what is that? Like where she's recognizing like his weird personality, but then they would have like intense makeout sessions.
Mm-hmm.
How's that work
I guess that love bite's so strong, right?
for her?
For
Oh
both
yeah.
of them. Well, yeah, for her. And when he's into it, I guess.
He disappears. Oh God. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Elizabeth was so perplexed by this relationship, she consulted several psychics, some who urged her to break it off with James, and others who perpetuated the situation, saying he was her soulmate. Elizabeth decided to confront James about his evasiveness and pretending to want to be together, as well as his redundant surface level conversations and his avoidance of real life connections. She cut it off with him and told him to stop calling. Meanwhile, however, the sexual dreams and psychic connection continued, and Elizabeth intuitively felt as if James wanted to keep the sexual dream fantasy connection. He had mentioned to her earlier that he was well aware of the astral sex liaisons, as if he could do this at will, a form
Oh
of psychic dream walking. He knew exactly what he was doing.
yeah. He just got what he needed from her and didn't need to have the physical
Right,
because then you don't have to deal with her.
right,
Could just discard her at will and she's still like in that because she's probably releasing those hormones like from the sexual encounters.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Attachment hormones?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and so that's how these entities can manipulate you in the astral. And what I just wrote in our group that we really just came to the conclusion that like MK Ultra style programming can actually happen in the astral, which is what
Yeah.
we've seen with our last few clients. Yeah, it's crazy.
Hmm.
Okay, where are we? Oh, okay. She cut it off with him. Meanwhile, yeah. Elizabeth intuitively felt as if James wanted to keep the sexual dream fantasy connection. He mentioned that he was well aware of the astral sex and he could do this at will. Then,
Rapist.
yeah, the endless drama caused Elizabeth emotions to yo-yo up and down, and soon she felt drained, but not ill, and mostly distracted from her work. Elizabeth recalls, our love obsession was not typical for him or me. After a few months, Elizabeth heard via coworkers that James made mean comments associating her with other women in an angry, misogynistic tone. She felt insulted that James so easily threw her in the same bandwagon as her coworkers. as if her entire identity revolved around her work. His shallow perception shocked and hurt her. Around that same time, Elizabeth felt a heavy pain in her neck, like a sword chop, and intuitively she knew something had changed in James.
Like, is he possessed now or did it leave him?
We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
Let's
Sorry.
see. Now she noticed the astral sex dream ceased,
Oh,
and it was as if James no longer had a psychic hold on her.
hmm.
But then, after a few days, she could feel James wanting to reconnect psychically. He emailed a few times apologizing and wanting to reestablish their connection.
Hmm.
She refused and called him an incubus.
Oh, wow. Good for her.
Then, ironically,
Oh,
it's this back and forth.
yeah.
Within days, a flurry of male attention came out of the woodwork at Elizabeth, and she found herself surrounded by men wanting to get to know her. She sensed something supernatural was up, but kept it to herself. Simultaneously, her coworkers changed their attitude towards her at work, and Elizabeth's supervisor suddenly became cold.
Oh,
After a few months of not responding to the other men and not reacting to her coworkers' changed attitudes, she received text messages from James again. More self aware and made wiser by what she could now see as the endless emotional drama hooks, Elizabeth decided not to respond. In hindsight, she believes her relationship with James veered her away from her path in life by keeping her distracted from her creative work.
wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad she was able to be conscious of all that was happening.
Yeah.
I mean, to hold that consciousness of like being like, okay, there's a lot of men coming around, and when women who are desperate to be in relationships, for example, are like, oh my God, they're just throwing themselves at me, like, lucky me.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I think it really makes a difference when you have the conscious awareness and can kind of step back and see the situation as an observer. Like you can be in a situation like that while also observing yourself in it
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
watching out for the red flags. Like, okay, this feels weird, but I'm just going to go with it and see what happens. And that way you don't get that like emotional hook, where you're like, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to be devastated. It's like you step back from yourself and observe yourself, right?
Yeah.
Um, which is what we tell our clients to do all the time, especially for those like seeking love, looking for love. Yeah, is to, yeah, when you're connecting with people, just pay attention to the energy. Be consciously aware of how you're feeling, how they're feeling, and the energy that's happening between you. Stand back and look at the bigger picture, what's happening here, because a lot of these things are like love bites.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Do you want to do one more case study?
Yeah, those are really interesting.
This is chapter 6, category 2,
Oh,
mythic dramas, spirit guides, and emotional vampirism.
oh, okay, let's go to category 3 after 2.
The stories in this chapter exhibit high emotional drama and the feeling that the love affair was supernaturally staged by a source, in particular, the spirit guides being channeled by one of the partners. These couples felt as though their relationships were mythic dramas being played out, in which they truly felt the sensation of being in a magical reality. However, the partner who channeled the spirit guides also manifested emotional vampire tendencies.
Dang.
Yeah. Nathan and Jezebel.
That's an interesting choice of name.
Nathan shared with me key points of an unusual relationship he had with a woman named Jezebel.
Oh,
In his,
wow. So oh, okay, he's the victim, clearly. So she named the predator Jezebel.
yeah,
Interesting.
in his own words, when we first met, some form of recognition was immediately present. The first thing she said was something like, "Well, where have you been all my life?" I responded similarly, and we immediately felt we had known each other a very long time. She was a beautiful woman, and so I thought I had finally found my one and future partner for this lifetime. Soon after meeting Jezebel, he experienced an unusually strong psychic link with her, more than he had ever experienced with anyone else. Their connection felt deep, even though they had only just met. After the initial meeting, Nathan accepted her invitation to a New Age related lecture, even though it involved a drive of several hours. During the long drive, he started receiving mental images and impressions of a black hooded figure and burning at the stake.
Oh,
These impressions, according to Nathan, felt as if they were dropped into his mind, but he also thought they might be powerful past life memories. I had constant feelings of being in a magical state of reality with this woman. We both had heightened feelings of romantic connection, almost nonstop feelings of romantic love and fascination, but never any sex. I became aware of something strange, as if she was afraid of getting close to me. I had a sense that she felt she could continue to control me if we didn't have sex, but would lose control if we did. I wondered if perhaps by having sex, my energies would threaten her. Nathan and Jezebel shared many conversations in person and by telephone. Despite the lack of sexual intimacy, Nathan felt strongly enough about her to continue seeing her. He had tarot readings and the I Ching telling him that he had met his ideal spiritual partner. He was mesmerized by her. That's a red flag. Being in awe of someone or mesmerized by them, like putting them on a pedestal, that's a red flag. But there was a less appealing side to this relationship. He noticed she seemed to be constantly surrounded by men who followed her around like puppy dogs. In addition, he said they both explored the possibility of having had former lifetimes together, a karmic connection where psychics told us we shared lifetimes, where I had done harm to her, was responsible for her being murdered, burned at the stake, and that now I had to beg for forgiveness. Whoa.
oh, excuse me. What?
Yeah, that's
I'd be
similar.
like,
That's similar
yeah,
to one of
yeah.
our clients.
I was just thinking about that one.
Yeah.
Peg. Okay, bye. See ya. What do I want to be ya?
Yeah. Eventually, Nathan started to feel as if he was being played by this woman to be manipulated into subjugation by her, groveling for her approval, affections, and forgiveness.
Ugh,
Oh
what
my
a,
God.
it's so manipulative.
Yeah.
So, is it them?
It's Jezebel. It's
I
Jezebel.
know.
He explains, I felt emotionally whiplashed to an extraordinary degree over and over again. Yeah, it's that control they have. Nathan also began to feel odd sensations in his solar plexus, as if an unseen entity wanted to attach itself to him. He also began to have a different sense of himself. He suddenly preferred to wear black, and his friends commented that he became very serious and dark. Nathan told me, under her thrall, I got worse and worse. Others around me started noticing that I was changing, and my dearest friend and teacher became very worried and asked me, "Are you okay?" In general, Nathan found that events always happened in such a way to prevent consummation of his desire for her, while at the same time deepening Jezebel's control over him.
Yeah, it's like the more blue balls you get, the more control she gets. Because it's like a, what do you call it? An accumulation of that energy, sexual energy that she could just, yeah, what?
I watched the video. Remember that girl I sent you? She's a diagnosed sociopath
Mm-hmm.
with the channel. I'll link the channel down below. Because it's really interesting how you can learn a lot about these people by listening to them. And she talks about how she controls men with sex and
She
how
she has sex with them or she doesn't?
she doesn't. like she keeps that stringing them along, like thinking they're going
Yeah,
to.
it's like a blue ball syndrome.
Yeah, and that's how she controls them. Mhm.
Dang.
Yeah. Yep.
What a tease.
Yeah. On the surface, he said she felt very loving and warm. But when I got close and we had a chance to be alone, then instead of feeling a warm closeness, I felt an icy distance. Red flag. The entire,
Maleficent.
yeah, the entire relationship with this woman was strange, as if she channeled entities she communicated with were running, as if the channeled entities she communicated with were running the entire show.
Mm.
To make matters worse, she did something that surprised me. In a conversation out of the blue, she just up and mentioned that she had a new boyfriend.
Oh my God. Wow.
The way someone might announce that they just bought a new refrigerator. I was absolutely shattered by her casual mention of this, while I thought she was still very interested in me.
Oh, poor Nathan.
Yeah.
That's really so
And
damaging.
our poor client who this exact thing happened to. So sad.
Hmm. Yeah, like nothing.
Yeah. I got back with my boyfriend.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah. They want you to be angry so they can feed off of that energy.
Yeah, because then they want you to fight harder for them, and then
Yeah.
they play the blue ball game again,
Well, that's it because they want you to be like, because they
pining
know,
for them.
right, pining for them, forgiving them, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. They're testing you to see how much you really want them. Oh, geez. Yeah. I was absolutely shattered by her casual mention of this while I thought she was still very interested in me. By this time, Nathan was so hurt by her unusual behaviors that he mulled it over, grieving and praying. His gut told him, this whole thing does not make sense. The entire experience was enormously all encompassing emotionally to the point I was just exhausted by it all and in the end just wanted to get away from it. When I asked Nathan how long it took to disengage emotionally and heal from the experience, his response reiterated the entire magical and paranormal nature of the love drama. He recalled in the beginning and into the next few months of the relationships, things got worse. And at a point, I began to develop an inner suspicious nature of the whole relationship. It was just a gut feeling that something unnatural and weird was going on. Listen to those feelings.
Hmm.
They're telling you something. Nathan's prayers received answers in ways that confirmed his suspicions that this woman was dangerous. This young lady, while looking like an angel, operated more like a one-person demonic hierarchy. Paradoxically, after thinking things over, Nathan lost all obsessive feelings for her. His hurt feelings vanished within a few hours' time, as if they had never even been there.
That happened to me.
Yeah, me too.
Bam, like gone,
Gone.
gone,
That's how,
gone.
yeah. And that's how you know that it was orchestrated.
Oh my God, yeah, that was obvi, but not at the time. But right after, it was like, oh God, yeah, gone. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big indicator. Because we've heard that before with like these arranged love bite relationship is that when it's done, it's done. It's literally like it never happened. Like all your feelings just
Yeah,
drop.
you go back to your day as if nothing happened. Out of the
Yeah.
dream, out of the trance.
Isn't it crazy that in this world we even have to be suspicious of love?
Well, yeah, why not? That's like the place. That's what everybody wants.
Yep.
So they have to make dirty love.
It's crazy. Okay. Yeah. So his feelings vanished. He says, I was amazed. I expected it to at least need weeks or months to heal, but the entire obsession vanished completely. It was that experience that made me really begin to wonder what was going on. It was a completely atypical response to being hurt. He reflected back on that time when he had completely broken all romantic ties as if waking from a dream. He walked around asking himself, what kind of spell was I under?
Question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. My gosh.
Crazy, right?
Oh man. Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh, chapter 7 is really good.
Okay.
It's about demonic entity. Let me see if I can summarize
Summers. Like storytelling.
it.
Storytelling.
Francine wanted to meet someone new. Disappointed with the quality of men, she switched to internet and met Bert.
Oh, hello, Bert.
They started talking back and forth. Bert responded, seemed to have an attraction for her. He agreed to visit. Online, they had a lot in common, especially on spirituality and being heart centered. Francine thought Bert was sexy and good looking, close to her age, and unlike older men, responding to her profile. Unlike the older men. When Bert agreed to visit, Francine was excited but nervous because he would be staying at her home.
Huh? What do you mean?
Like they met online and he was going to come stay at her house.
Like, I'm gonna live with you?
Like just to visit. But yeah, this dude's a stranger and she's letting him come. Like he should be staying in a hotel, right? Like she doesn't know him. The normal healthy etiquette would be for him to stay in a hotel.
You're saying if it's a man.
If it's anyone, you don't know this person is a stranger.
Like they just met?
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, he's coming to stay at her house.
Oh my God. Okay. This is the demon chapter?
In the extra bedroom. He's going to stay in the extra bedroom.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah. She says that she sometimes felt him when she was in her afternoon meditations or spontaneous moments as if he were thinking of her too. But it was only after they got together that the real strangeness began. Bert arrived in the evening. Francine made dinner. After talking, Bert suggested that Francine give him a massage. And he reminded her that she offered to do this on a post that she sent him online over a month ago. She didn't
Right.
recall that, other than having mentioned to him that she owned a massage table and had done Reiki before. But Francine said the massage table was packed away and he would have to help her retrieve it. Seeing that it would be a bit of a hassle, Bert decided he could just lie on the king size bed in the master bedroom.
God,
He had
Francine.
driven for many hours and had tight muscles, he said.
Oh my God, that was like me last visit when I was like, can you massage me?
Yeah, so funny. Francine felt uncomfortable with his insistence on a massage, but decided to do it. And before she knew it, they were having sex.
Oh God.
It happened so fast. But she decided she would just enjoy the intimacy, as it had been a while. They fell asleep in the same bed and spent the next couple days together. Bert had spent a lot of time on his laptop reading emails and reviewing the responses on his networking site. And Francine passed it off as his busy life because it was nice cooking for a man again and having someone to sleep and cuddle with.
Oh.
Before Bert left, they embraced and she gave him a kiss, hoping they would reconnect again. The night after Bert left town, Francine went to bed alone, still feeling aglow with his presence. And she was abruptly awakened by a startling, invisible presence. She felt it as a strong male energy whose astral body tried to hover over her sexually and meld with her body.
Oh, God. No, thanks.
This felt as if it were physically present yet invisible. The
Oh my
entity
God.
even spoke to her in Bert's voice with demeaning profanity that shocked her.
Oh my God, I bet.
Panic-stricken and ashamed, she got up immediately and turned on the light, saw nothing but still felt the presence. Whoever that entity was, it was pretending to be Bert, but acting like a demon. She said, I figured the demonic entity attack must have been a coincidence, and I gave Bert the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't connected to him. But he did other things that started to make me feel uncomfortable, like continuing to be looking for his soulmate
Hmm?
with public posts to that effect on his networking page. He posted a photo of a woman he claims he fell in love with a few months before I met him online. I was crushed. I figured I wasn't the one he wanted to really be with and that I wasn't special to him at all. But Francine let this incident go
Oh, come on, Francine.
because Bert was calling every day or so.
Oh,
And she said she felt a heart connection because
these
they were
poor women. They're so desperate, you
connected.
know?
Yeah, connected on a deeper soul level.
They just could have, oh, God, stupid demons.
He seemed to have a sixth sense about her thoughts and posted things that he would do to become a better man and get in shape, and how he didn't sleep with 99% of the women who dated him
Yeah,
because he only wanted his soulmate. It was a very romantic idea. And
oh God.
Francine fell for it.
Like we all know that he slept with 99% of the women.
Yeah, when you have to say that you didn't, that means you
Right.
did.
Yeah.
That means you did.
Oh,
This is how, yeah, and people aren't aware of these tactics.
I know. It's
People,
like all the programming in TV.
right. So as you're listening to this, like reflect on your life and see where this may have happened to you and start understanding how these energies work, because we are always being manipulated. Unless you know really what you're looking for, you're being manipulated. Like that's just the end result.
Yeah, if you can't see the red flags or like know what the red flags are,
Yep.
my goodness.
Bert was being evasive. He confessed that he was confused, but still wanted to keep in contact. He could not really know his feelings until they had spent more time together, and he wanted to take it slow. Francine was okay with that and admitted to being uncertain herself. She was happy to remain in touch. Meanwhile, she had intermittent nighttime visitations by the invisible entity that kept trying to meld with her energy in a sexual manner. She resisted and prayed nightly because this was downright creepy and alarming. She emphasized that these were not dreams, but something different. She felt strongly that the entity seemed connected to Bert. Quote, in response to my thoughts and feelings about him, but it wasn't just that. If I had a strong feelings, doubts, or thoughts about him, his post the next day or a text message would pop up regarding the same things I had been thinking about. Several times while I was thinking about him, he called. These strong demonic like entities have a really strong telepathy. They know what you're thinking, and then they will play you back and forth depending on how you're thinking and feeling, which is what's
Right.
happening with poor Francine. Yeah. So Bert expressed no interest in her beyond friends with benefits. Francine was starting to detach.
Right. So when he says things like that, like friends with benefits, but he's saying things like looking for his soulmate, 99% of them I don't sleep with, like, come on. That's when you have to kind of put them all together.
Mhm. Yeah, so she was starting to let him go, although she didn't tell him that. And as if he had a sixth sense, he called her the next evening,
Always clockwork.
hoovering,
Yeah.
trying to suck you back in. They sense when you're trying to disconnect from them, and they will do what it takes to pull you back in. They're manipulating your want and need for love, is basically what they're doing. Yeah, so he called. He said he was driving through the area,
But
and it was only a 2 or 3 hour drive away.
and he was tense from 2 hour 3 hours. Okay, I feel better now when I asked you.
What?
I said I feel better now that I asked you for a massage because he only drove 2 or 3 hours. Give me a break. Man up, dude.
He suggested he could come by and visit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, they feel the
wait,
energetic
no, no,
pullback.
no, 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 no. He, as long as she would be willing to help with the extra gas money it would require.
Fuck you, Bert.
Can you
Fuck you,
imagine?
Bert.
Oh my
So
God.
she has to pay
Francine?
for her sexcapades?
Yeah. Francine had appointments, so she was like, I don't know, Bert. Maybe next week I might be more free.
Okay, good, I guess.
But her resolve faltered. Earlier, she had promised to make him a special birthday dinner if he was in town. So she thought she might just go ahead and cancel a few appointments.
Oh man.
Bert chimed in that he was ready to take the exit, so he needed to know soon, and that maybe it was best to allow the spontaneous moment to decide. Perhaps this was meant to be. Francine agreed and assumed Bert was on his way.
How manipulative. He's like, stop by the bank though, by the way.
He arrived so late that he could barely keep his eyes open. Francine offered him a small meal, and after he ate, as if in a trance, he said he was so tired he wanted to go to bed. First, however, he asked for another massage. She gave him a massage and he fell asleep. No lovemaking. So the following AM, Bert expressed no interest in sex and instead wanted breakfast.
No can do, Francerine. Nope, nope, nope. What? You have bagels? I'll have some bacon and eggs.
Oh, God.
And an eggs Benedict, please.
Francine enjoyed cooking, but began to feel that Bert didn't really care for her at all.
Oh my God, I for her. And while she's cooking, having this revelation.
Yeah. They spent the next afternoon together as he typed away on his laptop, answering messages online. When they parted, he didn't even want to kiss her and only hugged her goodbye. After that, I felt pretty certain that Bert was not the man for me. I felt essentially rejected, but I still hung
Yeah.
on to a thread of hope that maybe it was just bad timing. And if
Oh,
Bert wasn't so tired from all his travels, that maybe we would have hit it off better. After all, we really did share a lot in common, and I seemed to be able to tune into him empathically so easily, and he with me, almost in a supernatural way.
Oh my God, that makes me so sad.
I know, it's heartbreaking.
So sad. Oh, that's really sad. I don't like this story. Never mind. Level 3.
I know.
Oh my God.
Wait, it's not over.
Oh, okay.
Part 2, emotional ping pong game.
Oh, great.
Over the next few days, Bert posted on his page a declaration of love for a woman who was obviously not Francine.
Uh-huh.
She said, I felt like I was kicked in the teeth. It was almost as if he did it purposefully just to elicit a hurtful response. Yeah,
He
exactly what he
did.
did.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. Called it out, Francine.
Exactly. Well, you have that feeling, that's exactly what it is. When you know someone's doing that on purpose to elicit a response from you, to make you hurt, that's exactly what they're doing. These people know how to fucking manipulate. Our brains don't work that way, so we don't understand it. And that's why we actually have to like literally have to study this to understand it. And yeah,
Yeah. You got, oh God, that's disgusting. I have like such a sour taste in my mouth.
yeah,
It's
it's
probably the alien energy. I get that sour taste. That taste.
mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, she felt he was extremely insensitive.
God, I need to eat something after this.
I know.
I feel like we need ice cream or something.
Hmm. I lost all my self-respect by sleeping with this man who I thought could have been my soulmate. Yeah. She decided that she needed to share her feelings about Bert's public post. So she sent him a private message after that declaration of love. She told him she lost all romantic feelings and could only be friends from now on. She cried and decided to let it all go as one big mistake. Then she was thinking strongly about Bert one evening, and then he called, of course, because
Mhm.
they can feel you. But Francine didn't answer and let it go to her machine. Later that night and for the next several nights, she received visits from the invisible entity, felt its presence as angry and intrusive, and fought to keep thoughts of it or of Bert out of her mind. It was difficult though.
It's probably like the, what do you call it? Psychic attacks
Yeah.
or curse or whatever.
No, I think it's the actual entity.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I know. But I mean like they could come at like in that way if it's not as obvious.
yeah. She slept with the light on for the next week because it continued trying to enter her psychic space as if responding to her cutting ties with Bert. It absolutely was.
Hmm.
This felt like a form of psychic attack, as if the entity within Bert
Oh,
was angry
there you go.
because it could no longer feed off of her through the emotionally draining love affair.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Then he started posting public messages that were indirect jibes and barbs about her.
How passive aggressive.
It seemed as if he were angry at her private friends only message, although he never responded to her personally. So cowardly. You know, you don't respond to the message, but then you go on Facebook and like write passive aggressive messages to who? Like,
Your fan base.
yeah, so dumb. It's so cowardly. I hate when they do that. Um, yeah. A few days later, he removed the photo of the other woman he proclaimed to love as if an apology. And he posted some nice things about Francine, this time veiled in romantic prose.
Oh, fuck you, Bert.
Oh my
It's
God.
like my
I can't
eyes
roll
went
my
all the way
eyes
back.
anymore.
I know.
Oh my God, I
Yeah, so
can't.
predictable.
Ugh, yeah. Pulling your emotions back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. You think, oh, that's because that's how they cause the confusion. It's like they do nice things and then pull away and then do nice things and then
Right.
pull away. So you're like, wait, I know he can be nice. He feels heartfelt. I
Yeah,
feel him
because the bar is so
empathically.
low.
Right.
The
The
bar is
bars.
low. And also because you can't really confirm that those messages were to you, even though you know that they are. So you can't just go back to him and say, I know that was for me. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Right. It's
And then
super
you feel like a fucking
gaslighting.
idiot
Right. It's the gaslighting.
and be like, oh, maybe they weren't for me. I just like, okay, Bert.
Right. And then you think, well, why do I think everything's about me? It's not about me, you know? Yeah, it makes you literally doubt yourself and feel like a crazy person. But you know deep down, you know deep down. And that's where we have to start trusting ourselves again because we've been so abused and traumatized and manipulated that we stop trusting ourselves, you know? So this is where we have to learn how to trust those feelings again instead of overriding them every time, like Francine's doing. Kept going back, even though she felt something was off and this freaking entity was trying to rape her at night and she knew it was connected to Bert. She still kept going back to him. This is a lesson for everyone. Stop doing that. Like, just stop. Stop. Yeah. Yeah. So then she started to realize that this entity was feeding off her intention and emotions. The sad thing about this is that both Francine and Bert were actively seeking their soulmate, and he even made this known on his own online pages. From now on, Francine said, I'm sticking to maintaining much stronger boundaries and won't be deceived by online profiles. It's clear that one has to be cautious in more ways than simple dating rules. Gut instinct is more trustworthy. Yes. Trust your gut. After several weeks of no contact, the visits by the invisible entity stopped, although Francine did dream of him from time to time. The end. Yeah, highly recommend this book. These case studies are really good. I related to so much of like pieces from different ones. Oh, abruptly, after returning home in a waking state, I perceived this knot erupt with hundreds, if not thousands, of tiny, opaque, transparent, spider-like creatures which swiftly dispersed over my body and being, spinning an etheric web around and of my very soul. I heaved in thrushes of pain, entering a
Yeah.
state of ecstatic shock.
Who's that?
This is Wiz.
This is another one?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Wiz and Coral. Wiz was a South American artist and musician in his late 30s, met Coral, a young, svelte, mystifying seductress, while on tour in Bogota, South America. In Wiz's own words, he described their magical first meeting.
Pagoda.
Yeah, why is that familiar? Oh,
Pagoda. It's
yeah.
I'm like Jezebel.
Yeah, yeah. I met Coral as we, a group of artists and musicians, were invited to Bogota to begin a creative musical project for an important festival. On our first debut, with the purpose of celebrating opening night, we ventured off into the colonial old town next to our hotel. There in the festive air, we came upon a small, quaint cafe where the sign in Spanish read, De Película, translated out of the movies. Inside the cafe was glass pane blue, archways, wine racks, and amber candles. It was like a cinema boutique. We boastfully positioned ourselves at a small door-style table exhibiting our own exotic qualities. And then she happened. At first, she was like a strange, androgynous young girl. She was intense and intriguing, doing the catwalk. I was an easy lure, all pretentious and horny. Still,
Okay.
she was just so fascinating. I could swear her face went in and out of focus like a blurry hologram.
Oh man. What level's this? That's fast. Right away. Straight.
All at once, it came over me. Oh my God, it's her. The eyes of Frida Kahlo. It's her, my virtual muse.
Oh
She
wow.
fixed her glare on mine. I entered passion and chaos.
Oh, why do you say it like that?
She was dark,
Frida Kahlo.
dense, and fascinating. Such a seductive enigma, like a beautiful, venomous wild orchid.
Oh my
However,
God, listen to those words. Venomous orchid? Come on.
however, curiously, whenever I was most sane, I could see she was actually quite plain. During our choreographed courtship in her small makeshift room, there was a movie poster with her very image. Yet it was another actress. Absolutely striking. The character's name rhymed with Arachnia.
What rhymes with that?
Arachnia? I don't know.
Please comment. Let us know.
Wiz went on to tell me after his initial meeting, they met for a full week of wonder and fantasy, as if in the thrill of a tease until the last night of his visit in the foreign city. It wasn't until the last night that she came for me. Till then, every encounter was a thrill and a tease. But that night, I found myself in an otherworldly trance, mesmerized and hypnotized. Red flag.
Ooh,
She hovered over my pelvis, winding her thighs, swaying her arms. I was paralyzed
is
into
this, sorry,
impotent awe.
impotent awe? Is this a physical or this is energetic?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Impotent awe. Oh, there it is again. When you feel all of someone, run, run. um, he explained in disbelief that he sensed snake-like shape metamorphosizing out of her mouth. I guess it was physical. With her head cocked back, it was dancing like an arm over my naked, vulnerable being. This was delirious, unbelievable, but all too real. The snake-like limbs slashed down, snagging the area over my navel, surging into the solar plexus.
Oh
I
my
was in
gosh.
utter shock and inevitably lost consciousness. Oh,
What?
shit.
That's harsh.
Oh, that's
What?
insane.
Imagine that.
That's a powerful entity.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked to people before where they felt their energy being siphoned,
Yeah,
but
right.
not to the point where they've lost consciousness.
Well, that person almost lost consciousness because the life force was being pulled out.
Mm.
I remember that being said.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh, he had a horrible hangover, but this was more serious, unreal. The next morning, I discovered her leaving the shower and rushing to work. So we bade a quick farewell. During the trip home, my solar plexus became increasingly uncomfortable and my mind was inundated with flashes of her. My memory seemed vague, while relentlessly the discomfort had transformed into a twisting, contorting knot. Abruptly, after returning home in a waking state, I perceived this knot erupt with hundreds, if not thousands, of tiny, opaque, transparent, spider like creatures which swiftly dispersed over my body and being, spinning an etheric web around and of my very soul. I heaved in thrushes of pain, entering a state of ecstatic shock.
That's like yeah, was it the maiden? The same one, like what do you call it? The Lilith energy,
Mm-hmm,
the crone, like
mm-hmm.
all of them.
Mother Maiden Crone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the maiden. Yeah. After this, he had the impulse to hear her voice, and so he lifted the phone to call, and yet received no dial tone, only silence. Then, to his amazement, he heard her utter the words, "Hello?" He was love bitten, and a few months passed with flights to and from Pagoda. He entered that same cafe, proud of his courage to be meeting her again, but she behaved as if unimpressed. They came together for days at a time for grinding sex and emotional taunting until Coral asked him to leave. Wiz described going through several weeks of a lonely period of chronic hunger, desperation, lucid dreaming, and out of body experiences.
Really intense.
He toured a few cities in a show called Insomnia with the logo of a snake eye, then returned to visit Coral. This time, Coral was pleased. Almost immediately, she moved in with me. And from then on, perpetual sabotage. She could talk for hours. She would stare forever. And so, given to and driven by alcohol, tobacco, and caffeine, she practiced nightly sleep deprivation, constant teasing, and sexual milking of me. I would be her apprentice.
My goodness.
Yeah. When I held back my emotional involvement with her, she would go into a wild array of attitudes, needy, then evasive, teasing for affection, and then chastising. These are all
What's chastising me?
traits of a sociopath. This is exactly what that girl talks about on her channel that she does to control people, especially men.
What's chastising me?
Like being upset with you for doing something wrong or like treating you like a child. Yeah. It was enough to drive you mad. There was always some serious dispute over anything I deemed important. Something through her was toying and feeding on my thought waves and vital energy. The more I centered on knowledge, independence, and self preservation, the more irrational and erratic she would become. There were always times before Coral abandoned him that she would suddenly appear out of nowhere, simply after the thought of her. He recalled one time, especially one day when she appeared like a withered flower, and I beheld her flush from grayish and pale back into color with my very presence while the knot in my solar plexus twisted inward.
Oh,
So it's like he gave life back to her.
yeah.
Like she needs his energy to survive.
Yeah, there's like definitely like a strong cord and contract there.
Mhm. She also trained him in the Tao Chi and tantric sex. Sometimes she would urinate during my orgasms. This was this some kind of courtesan spermicidal technique or a personal fetish? A master of I Ching and only 21. The way she saw, the things she said, she simply knew too much. But how?
She was 21. Oh my god. So young.
Yeah. Wiz delved into her dark, mysterious past and found a closet of skeletons. She was a poor only child with no formal education except for standard primary and military high school. She was raised by a single mother, hippie and freestyle, who got pregnant by a young Spaniard traveler in a rigid Catholic society. In turn, her mother demanded she and the Spaniard wed, which forced the young man on his way, leaving the mother to be grieving and ostracized. The unwanted little girl was then raised by the grandmother, a lower middle class old widow with a simple downtown shoe store. She did not have a happy childhood. Wiz sighed. I saw the images before they burned. One day, the little girl, now late teens, happened by her mother across the city lane. The mother was all woe and derelict, the little girl arrogant, simply ignored her and walked on by. News came later. The sad young woman died in a drug prostitute in a died a drug prostitute in a popular slum alley. A few years more, and the grandmother corroded of cancer in the little girl's arms. Anguished and ostracized by her relatives, Coral fled into the wilderness and lived horseback in a remote cabin for a short while. Sometimes she would drift back to those moments in an attitude of inner discovery and adventure. One understood something special happened there. Then she returned to the big city.
Cabin and changed.
Yeah, the cabin. By 19, she'd aborted, snorted, and connived her way through certain circles of the intellectual bohemian city maze. As a dark object of desire, she evoked alternating emotions in different people: suspicion, lust, admiration, envy, compassion. Yeah, that is like the counterpart of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
She made a contract.
Yeah. Wow.
Crazy. During this dark space, one of her sketches revealed her lurid vision of my soul probing from a cocoon. The cocoon was settled in an oh, forget that word, in a flower, colored, colored like a bruised fuchsia. I understood this image as my escapades to the astral place to replenish my spoiled reserves. I had succumbed to an anorexic state of quasi-existence. She would be drunk, dreamy, and glowy with my own scarce energy. I was hell. From the deep bowels of my being, the worst surged. We both breathed shit, wired on pleasure, hopeless lovers like flaccid junkies. She was fierce. I was bled of will and cried for light. The Bardo Thodol, Book of the Dead. I delved into the shelves of the city library seeking refuge, seeking truth. Hmm. I understood myself as an Omphalos, Vesica Pisces, the luminous egg of energy we emanate. This ova was encoiled by a serpentine being as I rediscovered myself to be the divine seed, this viper's precious treasure.
My goodness.
If there was ever a dark side of Cupid, this was it.
Yeah. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
I concur. My gosh, that was really like intense.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you become a slave.
Yep, you do. I'm a slave. They prey on the weak too, which is the worst part of it. "71% of people were financially compromised or economically burdened."
From the relationship?
No, before.
Oh, so that's how they were trapped?
That was like a vulnerability point.
Were they used for their money?
No,
Or they were trying to be
they were vulnerable because they were financially burdened.
Okay, got it. Like that was their point of vulnerability.
That was one of them. 71% of people who ended up in this survey were financially burdened when they ended up in this. So they were already, there was a vulnerability there. 70% were female. 99% were into alternative media and the paranormal. It's hard to tell though there, because I think some people who aren't into that scene might not recognize the signs, but are still experiencing these types of relationships, you know? 71% were in caretaking, healing, and teaching professions. And 30% had childhood trauma. It's probably more than 30.
Yeah,
I
because
think
usually
everybody
like
has childhood trauma.
yeah, because usually like when we talk to people, they're like, oh, like remember we had like some clients that are like, well, yeah, like my childhood was fine, like it was, but you dig a little deeper and they don't realize that they're traumatized or
Yeah.
abused.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah. So those numbers are probably higher.
Yeah, that's 30% of them are conscious that they were.
Hmm. Yes. And 59% were shy and had lack of assertiveness. So they weren't empowered.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
were disempowered.
yeah.
Probably also have boundary issues. You know, that's what we see. Like people that usually end up in something like this usually have like boundary issues, are people pleasing, aren't yet able to really stand up for themselves or say no to people. Yeah, those kinds of codependency. There's like a codependent aspect to some people. Yeah. Very interesting. I can't wait to talk to Eve.
Yeah, that's gonna be really interesting. We have to come up with questions. So if you are we posting this before?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So put your questions in the comments, please.
Yeah. If you have any questions, I'll try to we'll try to get to it in our interview with Eve. I'm really excited for that. I feel like even since this book, things have evolved even more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's definitely worth the full read. Both of them are. They're both
Has she
really good.
written anything since? Like, did she have something recently
I
or her
don't
most
know.
recent?
I don't know. I don't think so. But her website also is like a treasure box of information. There's so much there.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's a good question. Okay.
Well, thank you for reading. That was really interesting and enlightening and
What did you
reflective.
learn?
Like, oh God, it's everywhere. No one's immune, people. Like you have to be aware of the subtleties and how and the flutters and like I think it I think to a certain degree like everybody is in a predicament in this way, and it's like just being aware of how it's manipulated or how you're being played, especially if you have a lot of um what do you call it, traumas
Trauma.
and yeah, trauma and like the codependent,
Yeah.
you know.
It's just different levels. There's like we started off with just like the kind of emotional manipulation kind of stuff, and then it goes deeper and deeper and deeper to where you're like, you know, having sexcapades with Lilith.
Oh my god.
Jezebel. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Oh
Yeah,
no.
and like your solar plexus is erupting with astral spiders, and it's
Yeah,
real though. That is real. That really happens to people all the
definitely.
time. We see it all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. And women, and like middle-aged women especially, are especially vulnerable. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So be careful.
Yeah, be aware of your patterns, be aware of what you're looking for and how, you know, it shows up. That's why it's so important to do the work. My God, we can't stress that enough. Do the work so that you're not, you have boundaries. You know what the red flags are. You know what,
Trust
like when you're,
yourself.
yeah, when you're betraying yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So important. Okay. Well, that was fun. And leave your comments down below. Any questions for us or for Eve for our upcoming interview? And
Yeah, I'm so happy we're doing this interview. We've been like talking about it for a while, so it's really awesome that it's really happening.
I know.
I can't wait to pick at her brain.
I know. I know. So fun. Okay.
Okay,
Thanks, guys. We will see you next time. Be gentle with yourselves.
bye.
Bye.